Spirited worship incorporates stewardship. I think it's very important to model this when our children and youth are present, and even when they're not. But beyond a normal offering, it's often easy to work into a service something about, collecting a food offering for a group in need. Okay, so when you're ready to leave, Neil's going to be at the door, and you can put your offering in there. Signing or having an art table in the back to draw a picture on a card to send to a shut-in. Some small act of reaching out. As you might have deduced from this list, spirited worship also just might break the rules. We're actually going to greet each other in a different way. So would you mind standing up, Susan? Hi, I'm Erika.
Hi, I'm Susan.
All right, great. Would you please greet each other as we begin our service? Hi, Mark. Thank you again so much for being the son. Hi, Sheva. Hi, thanks for staying. Hi, Kat. Oh, hi, Matt. So a couple of unconscious rules that I think we have about worship is, well, if you're going to do an acting out of a story, people will have to memorize their lines and be really professional about where they're standing. I have found, again, through Greg Ward, his work, that's really not true. It's absolutely fine for someone to be standing up there and acting out their part with the script in their hand.
Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. It's too soon to tell you.
Well, the farmer enjoyed watching this herd. Because which is more distracting, that or someone up there sweating because they might not remember their line and everyone knows it, and there's this awkwardness. You do not have to use elaborate props and sets. You do not have to have people come in and paint huge backdrops and get a CD of sound effects. Simpler is better, I have found. And you also do not have to fill the entire hour. And Kevin just said amen. You don't have to worry about, people are really going to be disappointed if we end 12 minutes early. No, they won't. If you've fed the hunger and if you've celebrated as a community, it's just going to be an artifice to try to string things out. That being said, sometimes it's very hard in this worship form to figure out how long this is going to take. Now, I do want to rapidly go to this last star, which is that there should be a very structured rehearsal so people are comfortable with where they're standing, when to speak. It's often a necessity, I have found, to have the accompanist at that rehearsal, because often sections of the story are carried through on phrases of music. Another thing that the Reverend Greg Ward does, and his website is uuintergenerational.org. And you'll see, I have some scripts there. He's got a bunch of scripts. He tends to write scripts that are much more in-depth than mine. The ones that I have published on that website are fairly in-depth. And you'll see that one thing that, for example, he's got a story on there, and I think it's Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child, right? Gets sung over and over and over. So there's a lot of repetitive music, and that's why it's important to have your musician at the rehearsal. And as Marcia said today, I think, what was her prayer? Something like, please let something happen that wasn't on the bulletin, right? And then someone said, something good! We want to make room for the Spirit to move. We want to make room to be spontaneous and playful. And that can really only happen if you kind of have your skeleton, your framework nailed down. You're putting down little road markers so that can erupt. And in my congregation, we have this little mantra, which is a line from Rick Maston's hymn, Let It Be a Dance. If nothing's wrong, then nothing's right. And when something goes wrong, someone always says, if nothing's wrong, then nothing's right, you know, and we all laugh. So it's totally fine if the person you have in stone soup, let's say you have someone and he's supposed to bring his potatoes, and he comes up and he brings his potatoes to the big soup pot in the middle of the altar and drops the potatoes all over the floor. You know, that's not something that you have to feel like, the potatoes, you know? You can say, you know, it's part of community, and it's good for children and adults to see what a healthy response to mistakes in liturgy is, which is like, huh, you know, well, life happens, we spill the potatoes, let's all pick up the potatoes.